Hi, welcome back to the MVM Show. This is Campside Sessions. This is what I talked about, boys and girls. That we're going to do up here. We're up in the mountains in God's country. What are we?
68.
68 right here?
I think
because the bridge says
bridge
that.
is 68.
Okay, well, we're pretty. So we're about close to 7. This is because we're higher than the bridge right here, aren't we?
A little bit.
Not that much, huh? Not a couple hundred feet.
20 feet. I don't know.
Well, anyways, we're out here in this sweet spot. Actually, we're up looking at a meadow, and then you don't got the greatest background if you're watching it on the MVM Show YouTube channel. But we're here with Josh Webster. He's been on before, but we talked about predator hunting. Is your guys' volumes okay and your headphones are too loud, too quiet?
That sounds fine to me.
What about yours?
Sounds good.
You're good? Okay. Well, anyways, we have lots of refuge stories that we like to rehash. I would. And for starters, I kind of like to talk about how on Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, starting to roll up to the refuge to get your spot for opening day. Josh, you know you didn't forget this.
Well, back in the day, we weren't as
Smart.
smart, prepared, right? You're young. You have all this energy.
Put yours closer, Travis.
You don't need all this fancy garbage, you know?
There you
So we had the worst decoy bags in the world. No
Yep.
carts, no sleds.
It makes us carry them.
Neoprene decoys. Not decoys, neoprene waders. Yeah. And just an assortment of decoys that we had collected from here, there, and everywhere.
We brought all 200 of them.
Yeah, the more
Every
the
last
merrier,
one.
right? You know what I'm saying? You couldn't have enough decoys.
Sound like a train going down the tracks, walking out the levees.
Yeah, and they're beating on the back of your legs because it.
Back
didn't
your
have any
knees or your
support.
calves.
Yeah.
The pintail decoys are just stabbing you in the back of the calves. What, did we mess up your shooting range? Perfect.
One year we
That's
were
all I wanted.
super motivated, and we went out there on what day did we leave on? We got there on a Wednesday or a Thursday.
When we set out,
We sat there in the blazing
We got there-
100-degree heat.
that trip was on a Wednesday, I think. Sent there from Wednesday.
When you sat there from Wednesday, boys listening to this, refuge hunters, they know all about that.
Yeah, we sat there forever. We didn't have a reservation.
It was about 90, 95 degrees.
What was the first day guys were showing up?
There was a lot of
A
people
week
out there when we
before,
got
there was
there.
there was probably at least.
On Monday, they'll start showing up on Monday.
Oh, I'd say so.
Lining up, baby.
I bet you there was 50, 60 cars in front of us.
There's a lot.
We were like halfway down that road.
Sitting out in a gravel parking lot, 90, 95 degree weather, just sitting there like idiots.
Yep, bacon.
Sat there. There's nothing to do.
Dude, I remember sliding a mat. I don't even know if I had a mat. I doubt I did. In the parking lot. This was just the day before opener. Sliding your sleeping bag under there and to bear in and trying to lock yourself in from all the mosquitoes that are attacking you in the parking lot. Just praying to God you could get in the refuge for opening day because you didn't have a resi.
Well, this particular hunt, we hunted in the morning, and then we kind of went out there. We ate or something. We ate, and then we were going to go back out there, see if we could limit out. It was like, I don't know, 98, 99. We had neoprene waders on.
Well, it was
And
so,
you took yours off.
that's the only time in my life I've actually duck hunted without waders. It was so hot. I felt like I was dying in them. I took them off and sat out there in a pair of wader pants, whatever I was wearing, pants and a camo T-shirt, and laid down in the water to my belly to stay cool. It was so hot with no waders on.
Didn't your dad even like get sick or something from it?
It was it was hot. He got sick.
Yeah, almost like heat stroke.
We limited, I think.
We shot a lot of birds that day.
We did. Then your poor dad got attacked by the mosquitoes walking out.
Yeah, I tell that story.
Well, he had his hands full.
He
Birds, decoy. He couldn't
Yeah.
do anything, and he had a literal. I mean, there was like a cloud of mosquitoes on his head, and he was blowing.
Just all of his face.
It's all over his face, and
Yeah.
he'd shake his head, and he was blowing, and we was trying to get him off, and then it was just a fog. That was
You
miserable.
just smear. You just roll off your face. Just your hand would have blood all over it just from so many mosquitoes being on it.
Yeah, it'd suck you dry.
But
Yeah, that particular refuge, just like I don't even know why I chose that one. I was just the kind of person to get locked into one refuge because it was the furthest one from like where we're at for the local refuges, and we drive all the way over there, take back roads, cross freeways, and you know how bad the fog used to be over there. I mean, you couldn't see from one line to the other. It was so foggy. And so what I'd do, crossing, because there were some back roads you could take, but you had to cross, what was it, 4 lanes of traffic?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd roll down my window and just listen, and then I would just punch it and pray, you know what I'm saying, before I crossed that freeway that it didn't get smashed on the side by a diesel.
Dude, we don't have fog nowhere near like we used to.
It used to be. It seemed like when I was a kid, and then, you know,
A couple weeks.
like weeks, you wouldn't see the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't see the sun for weeks, and it was kind of depressing, you know.
Yeah.
Or like socking that high fog.
You're not getting that vitamin D3.
Yeah, you're not getting no sun.
Oh no, it was bad. But the staying, I mean that's just one story of many. We used to go out there and the day before and the night before we'd sleep in his Dodge Stratus.
Straight up in the seats.
Literally, and not sleep a wink.
Well, not very well.
Yeah.
I mean, try sleeping in the front seat of a Dodge Stratus
Mm-hmm.
with all your duck gear in the back.
Why
seat.
did we?
Or an '84 Toyota pickup and single cab where the seats didn't lay back.
I don't have a clue. I was young and really dumb back then. That was a long time ago. Now I'd be like, I'll see you there in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sleep in my. I still don't know why. Why? When we had a perfectly good bed.
Wasn't it because where the refuge was, you couldn't just sign up. You had to be there, right?
Well, it was a
but
first come, first serve.
first come, first serve. But I mean, there wasn't that many guys. Except, I mean, like opener, there was, of course. But outside of opener, there wasn't that many guys sitting in that parking lot every night. We could have showed up at 4 o'clock, 4:30 the next morning and got in the refuge.
That's what most do now. You don't really see guys hanging out there like they used to. I wonder why that is. You notice that, Travis?
Probably
To
they're
me, it
smarter.
doesn't seem like what times made them smarter, or
I
just
don't know.
they're probably
Something.
still doing it. We just don't notice it.
Yeah, because we're not there then.
Go
Yeah.
out there at 10, 11 o'clock at night and then just try to sleep in a front seat of the Dodge Stratus.
What's the dumbest thing you think you've done to kill a duck?
Dumbest.
The dumbest thing I've ever done to kill a duck.
Well, I know the
don't
dumbest
even
thing
wanna
that
tell you.
I know.
I
the
wanna
dumbest thing
hear it.
that
We wanna
Josh
hear it.
did.
I don't even
I
want to
know
tell
what
you
he
what I
did.
did.
I know what.
Well,
it
at least
is.
I think I know the one you're gonna say.
Yeah. You want to know about it?
We want to know. We want to hear it. The people want to hear.
It's absolutely embarrassing.
Good. That's the best ones.
and disgusting.
The dumbest thing I did, so there's some rice fields where we've all lived. And out at them rice fields, there's some ponds. And they're not your typical pond like some of you people may be thinking. These are sewer ponds. And they have high fences around them.
Well, they didn't then though.
Well, when I was a kid, there was no fences
Was
around.
there
but
no
I don't even
fences
think
back
there
then?
was then. No, there
Maybe
wasn't.
Maybe there wasn't back
There
then.
wasn't none then.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah.
It was,
Maybe
it was
there
the
wasn't.
back ponds.
That's when we stopped going. Going
Yeah.
over there.
So we would go out there and you'd get some occasional ducks fly over. And I went out there. I think I'd went out there to go dove hunting because we dove hunted out there too. And it was duck season. Some ducks were flying over, and a hooded merganser
Of all things.
of all ducks.
But you thought it was a Drake mallard, right?
I thought it was a Drake mallard. I
How
guess-
did you confuse those
Well, I just kind of saw it. I shot and it went down in the water. It was
Oh, okay.
lower light. I thought it was a Drake mallard, and so I was like, I knew that was.
Sewage.
No, I didn't know it was that sewage. I thought it was treated water, like some kind of treated water from the city. I didn't know it was actual raw sewage.
Yeah, raw sewage.
Raw sewage. Untreated raw sewage. I didn't know. I thought it was treated water and it was just a holding tank, holding ponds. So the duck went down out there in the middle. I threw rocks, trying to make ripples and waves, trying to get him to the bank. I tried
Which that
to-
stuff's so thick and soupy
Well, yeah,
and poopy.
It's sludge. And I couldn't make enough waves to move him. I mean, he was just sitting out there. So I said, I'm just going to have to go out there. So I took my pants off because I didn't want to get my pants all wet and stepped off into.
Took your shoes off, right?
Well, yeah. I took my shoes off
Shirt.
and stepped off. No, I don't think I took my shirt off. I don't think. I stepped off into like ankle deep mud.
Mud.
It wasn't mud.
Mush.
And I went out and got this merganser.
Ugh.
And I got back and I called Travis. I think I sent you a picture. I did. I sent you a picture.
Something, yeah.
And I didn't even know back then. I didn't know what a merganser was. That's the first merganser I'd ever seen. I sent him a picture. I'm like, dude, what kind of duck is this? He's like, that's a merganser. Where'd you get it? I said, I got it out there at the ponds. He landed out in the water. I said I had to go out in the water and get him. And Travis was like, You got in that water? I
Mhm.
said, yeah, I just took my pants and my
That's
shoes.
when you knew you
Yeah,
messed up.
I took my pants and my shoes off, and it was at that moment.
Is that that moment?
He knew he messed up.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you know what that is? I said, well, I felt like there was mud. He said, that ain't mud. That's,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, raw sewage.
Mm.
I quite literally got in a raw sewage pond.
For merganser.
For a hooded merganser.
I mean, if it was like a king eider,
no, that would be different.
I don't give
might,
a-
I would've went
I
home
don't
and got a
care what
fish
it
I
and
is.
might be willing for that. I don't know.
fish and pole and a bass plug and try to
It'd
hook it.
There
have
you
to
go.
be-
There's a lot of other ways we could have dealt with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. There'd have to be
Besides
a a
wading
lot
in
of money
poopy.
involved.
Well, if
for
they
me.
say
The
too, is like
soupy-poopy.
when you get in that, I guess it can stir up like different
gases.
gases and stuff
Yep.
like that. You could actually,
Mhm.
I guess people actually got
Mhm.
asphyxiated out there.
Yeah.
And died in that
Well,
thing.
they'll do that at dairies. That will happen. If that gets stirred up, that is it carbon
Methane, I
dioxide?
think.
Or
Methane.
methane or ethane or
Yeah, the methane will get stirred up. It kind of yeah. That's so bad, dude.
So Travis was like, dude, I hope you don't get an infection and your foot falls off. I was
yeah.
like, oh, man.
of course.
I went.
He's always encouraging.
Something's gonna fall off, you know.
Yeah, so I went and jumped in the shower and scrubbed my legs and feet best I could.
I bet you never told your mom that you did that.
I didn't really want to tell anybody I got in raw
Yeah.
sewage for a duck. Complete.
Well, you just think about it because like my dad, that one year he was out duck hunting and he had a hole in one of his boots, and he went and he got home and a few days later like it started swelling up, all like pussy and infection. He went to the doctor and the doctor was asking him like, "Hey, it's like you been around like any kind of like stagnant water or whatever?" Because I guess they did some kind of test. It's like, "Yeah, duck hunting." He goes, "That's bad stuff. You got some kind of bacteria out of the water."
Who did?
My dad. Yeah, he had some kind of cut on
In his
foot.
feet?
Yeah, he got swelled up,
I didn't know
pussy, and
that.
all kinds of stuff from being some kind of bacteria that was in the water, the duck pond.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
But yeah, it was nasty looking.
What's the dumbest thing you've ever done? Because I'm sitting here trying to rake my head.
You know what? I've never done like dumps, like I would say like dumb stuff. I mean, there's things I've like done, and it's like I won't do that again. Like go out there in the fog, you're trying to find a pond, and then like, oh, this looks like a good spot, and you set your gun up on the tulies, and then
Mhm.
you like all the tulies look the same, and you look for feels like forever. Like I'm never gonna find my gun that
Right.
particular tule patch. I've had some. I know probably the dumbest thing I did one year. Josh, it was Josh, my dad, and I think I locked my keys in the car, and I'm like, oh, we'll just get them later.
Oh yeah.
And so that was the scenario where
Sarah would never do what
Somehow
your
we-
wife did for you there.
no, but somehow we got halfway out toward the pond, right? I don't remember how. Some guys gave us a ride, and then
Gave
we're like,
us a ride on the back of
no.
their-
Remember they gave us, but somehow we got onto the back of that stupid thing though, because we got out there a certain distance. We just started from the check station on the back of that thing.
I think we did.
No, we didn't. I think we went halfway out there, and we thought it was the right spot. It was so foggy, and I'm like, guys, oh yeah, right here. So they let us off, or something like that. And then we got, and these other guys came by. They're like, yeah, like we're in the wrong spot. And they're like, hop on the back of our little, I don't even know what you call it. It
A
was
bread
like
basket. That's about how big it was.
It was about the size of, I don't know, maybe 20 inches wide by the width of the cab or the bed.
Could have been bad.
And we had decoys on our back. We had all guns. And so we literally like locked arms. There was nothing to hold on to because they had a camper on the back of their truck. It's not like you hold on the tailgate. And
Oh.
and those guys, they're like, just bang on the window when you want us to stop. Well, like, we're gonna bang on the back of a camper hauler. And these guys take off, and they didn't. I think they forgot we were back there.
They're flying.
They were flying.
Flying.
And we're
I
holding on
thought
for
we were cooked.
dear life. You know the little knob where you turn it to get the camper? I'm holding on
Yeah.
to one of those, and I hold on to my dad like this, and we're just going bumping. You know how bumpy those roads are out there, bumping, dust flying everywhere. If one of us would have fell off, it would have been.
I think we had to be going 40 miles an hour.
It felt like it. I don't know.
I'm telling you, it felt like we were flying all
We're-
back.
it's our-
It's pitch black. It's late. It's early in the morning.
That's what. Was it opening day?
I don't
I
think
don't know
it
if it
was.
was opening day.
We started banging on the thing, and finally they stopped.
I was
and
happy to get off.
I bet
that
you those
train.
guys were laughing their heads off. But that was
That
the
was-
dumbest thing I probably did.
That was
Yeah.
dangerous.
And I've stepped off into. One time we went out with my brother-in-law and one of my buddies, and I was carrying the decoys, and went to a spot we didn't know, and I stepped off into this ditch, and it was over my head. And
Oh.
immediately my feet just flung up like this right here, and so I'm sitting here with this decoys on my back, right? Well, that was the only thing holding me up. But my feet, I'm seeing in the water, the balance of it just threw my feet straight out in front of me. So I'm literally like this in the water floating. And you got all these decoys on. You can't like turn over or roll because of the way they're situated.
It's a giant floaty.
And my brother-in-law and my buddy was just standing on the bank laughing their heads off. I'm like, get me out of here, you stupid idiots. Yeah, and they thought it was the funniest thing ever. I was panicking.
Yeah, the McDonald's aren't a big fans of water.
I'm not a water fan.
Your dad's not either.
I've stepped in a few holes.
Talon, on the other hand, what he did in Idaho last year.
Yeah,
he may be a little too much of a fan.
Yeah, he bit off a little bit too much of it, and that's what I'm always afraid of. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because when you're at that age,
which he was jumping in to save Rocky. I don't think we've ever talked about that on here.
Yeah, he thinks he's invincible.
I know he felt. I think the reason he did that is he felt responsible.
He did feel responsible,
which he really wasn't. But
yeah,
I wasn't as eager to jump in there. I was thinking about it, but I don't know if I was like.
Yeah, sometimes he reacts. And then,
Rocky went after a duck, and we were on a river, and it was flowing. He was never going to catch it. And then he got down, dropped off a little bit of not much of a ledge, but he wasn't going under. He started to after he was swimming for about 6 minutes. We had no way of getting to him.
6 minutes.
Yeah, easily treading in the same spot, which
For
I was
6
hoping.
minutes?
was he trying to come back with the bird upstream?
He had the bird. He never didn't have the bird in his mouth.
Okay.
No, he caught it. He caught it, but he went off the thing.
Yeah, and then
he turned around and he's just swimming at us, and he never realized like, hey, go left or right.
Yeah, he wasn't gaining.
And then he's not. That's a new environment for him.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and I could tell by the end of last year he learned a lot of stuff hunting in the river, but because he would run down the bank and then cut across in.
Yeah.
Cut it
Shorter
off.
distance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're watching him. I'm like, here, and I was like trying to even give him hand signals to like go over. If he would have went sideways, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
But he was just swimming in spot in that current. He tread forever. And Talon's, I'm going. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I mean, luckily it wasn't insane cold, but it was only like 55. It wasn't warm.
Yeah.
That
That's
right.
outside
I wouldn't want to be
temperature, right?
stripping down.
Yeah.
And he just started. He was taking off. He wasn't listening. He was stripping his clothes. I go, Talon, no. And he just. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to jump in. He was fine because there was deep spots, but it was shallow spots. It was just Rocky was in this eddy.
Yeah.
He couldn't get out of it. And Talon called him over and pulled him over. But I was thinking that was a really close call for Rocky for sure.
Could have been a close call for Talon.
Yeah, just from being cold. Yeah. But he got right back, put his clothes back on. He said, he goes, I'm fine. But we were done. We were just like, let's go. It was just kind of ruined the whole the
environment.
There ain't nothing. I mean, I'm not going to say that's stupid or funny story like you guys. It's just, that's the reality of the environment.
That's not stupid or funny. That's just it's
just a serious close call. Like, we got to think about this next time, and how,
The dumbest thing I ever did hunting wasn't duck hunting. It was deer hunting. I shot that buck across that river and tried to swim that river in my underwear.
You almost got hypothermia, though, didn't you?
It was.
You were probably borderline.
Like pre-hypothermia?
Yeah,
or beginning.
So the guys that pulled me out were paramedics and firemen. And my body had completely locked up, wasn't working anymore. I couldn't stand. I couldn't use my legs. Physical, I couldn't use my body. And
it was like going into shock almost?
Couldn't do it. I couldn't stand. I couldn't do anything. I was laying lifeless when they got me across there. My limbs wouldn't work. I don't understand. It just wouldn't work.
Didn't they throw you a rope or something and you held onto the rope, but by the time they got you out?
Yeah, they threw me a rope. So we got stuck over there. I killed a buck over there. I had to go over there. I had the bright idea, young and dumb. I didn't want to get my clothes wet. So once again, stripped down. And this was winter. It was snowing. And the river was rising fast. Shouldn't have went over there. And me and my buddy were able to cross it in this one spot. And it was about chest deep at that point. And we had another guy there on the bank that had a rope. And he said his rope would reach across. So the idea was I was going to take my clothes off, get over there, gut the deer. He was going to throw the rope, wrap it around his horns, drag him back across the river, and then throw us the rope and pull us across. Well, by the time we got over there, the deer wasn't dead. He was down, but he wasn't dead. So I had to go up the hill a little ways. I'm barefooted, and it's solid rock. And
How'd you kill him? Rock him?
No, we brought
Cut his throat or what?
We brought a 30-30
Oh, okay.
in our hand with us when we crossed the river, in case he wasn't dead. And we shot him. pulled him down the hill. Mind you, all this time we're now soaking wet. It's it's winter. It's snowing, and you're walking barefoot on the rocks. Well, your body gets really cold real fast when you're in water in the snow and you have nothing on with your underwear. By the time I got him opened up, my hands were already just
Okay,
aching.
wait. So you crossed the creek in your underwear to go get the buck. I don't know why I thought for some reason you were on that side and to get him back is when you did that. I didn't realize you were several minutes.
Several minutes. I was probably a half an hour over there at least.
Really? Before you crossed
sopping wet.
again.
At least.
So you crossed it freezing to death.
Yes.
Then went up to the deer. You gutted it. Did you put your hands inside and try to warm up
deep
a little
as
bit?
I could. It's the only thing warm. I had blood plumbed to both shoulders. I mean, I almost
Crawled
practically
inside
ran
of him.
Yeah, I mean, I
I'll
almost
tell you a
crawled
good story
inside
after
of
this
him.
one. Yeah.
I was so cold when I cut him open. I mean, steam just rolling out.
Probably felt good. Huh?
I dove. I mean, I did everything. Put my head in his chest cavity as deep as I could get. My hands were aching. And time I got him gutted, well, the guy that was with us threw the rope across the river. The river had rose so much the rope wouldn't reach.
Because it expanded in width.
Yeah. From the time you went.
It was right.
Really?
At one point, it was snowing. This is no exaggeration. It was snowing so hard you almost could not make out the people across the river. It was snowing so hard you couldn't.
Dude,
it was an absolute.
That is the dumbest thing you've ever done for sure.
Oh, by far. I almost died. It was like a blizzard.
Was your dad there?
No. And he told me that morning, don't get in that river. He goes, I'm telling you right now, do not cross that river. Oh,
But what was the drive there because it was a bigger? It was a nice buck too.
It was
that
a nice
part of the
buck.
drive?
I think part of the drive.
I mean, you got to go
think
get it.
you can do well. There's other ways. I'll tell you how we got him. At that time, you think
Who went over there with you?
John.
John did. Okay.
You think, I can do it. I can do it. Just like Tal said about Talon. I was probably Talon's age, maybe a touch older than what Talon is. You're young. I'm strong. You think I can do this? It ain't no big deal. It ain't no big deal. What my dad told me, do not cross that river. Whatever you do, okay, Dad. Sure, whatever. That type thing. Well, shot a buck, stripped off in my underwear, across the stupid river. And we got over there, the rope would not reach. It's snowing. I remember at one point I looked down at my legs, and no exaggeration, I had purple spots as big as softballs on my legs. My body was going purple. My lips were dark purple. And it was getting hard to move. Like my body just felt heavy. It's hard to explain. We had to walk downriver in that snow. I don't know how far it is from that one place to the other place the guys were sitting, but we had to walk. It was a considerable distance in the rock and the snow to get to where we knew some other guys were to see if they could help us. And when I popped out of the trees in my underwear,
probably
in
freaked
that
them
snow,
out. They probably thought it was a bottomless snowman coming.
those guys were just like, I mean, they were like unbelievable. They hollered out. They said, "What are you doing? Like, who are you and what are you doing?" Like, only a lunatic would be out here in his skivvies. I mean, literally, they probably thought I was a nut. I was like, man, I need help. I said, do you guys have a rope, anything? Basically, I don't have time to explain everything, to you, but do you have a rope? I need help. Like, I'm really cold.
At least.
Luckily, those guys were prepared. They were firemen. There was a group of firemen and paramedics that knew each other and hunted, and they had a long rope that they had brought down there. They had brought all kinds of stuff. And they're like, yeah. So they got the rope. They pitched it 2 or 3 times, kept laying out in the water. They finally got it over there. This shows you, I just wasn't thinking straight. Rather than tying the rope around me.
You tried to hold on to it, probably.
I tried to hold on to it. Dude, by now, that river is rolling. I mean, it's white.
Rocks, big rocks in it.
It's
everything.
rolling.
Yeah.
It ain't just kind of flowing. It's white, overturning.
My goodness.
And I didn't. Why I didn't tie the rope around my chest,
yeah.
I don't know. I tied it to a boulder.
For the same reason you went across
For the
underwear.
same reason you went in underwear.
Yeah.
I tied it to a boulder, and then thought I was going to hold on to it
And just kind of walk across.
and pull myself over by my own bootstraps. I took 2 steps in that river. My second step, I didn't hit bottom. The water sucked me under.
You're already freezing cold.
Oh, yeah, it sucked me completely under. I remember vividly as I went under, I couldn't feel the rope. I knew I had a hold of it, but I couldn't feel it in my hands because my hands were just numb, aching. But I remember when I went underwater, I still remember I seen the white come over my face.
You thought that's it.
I did. I remember the thought within my mind, if you let go, you're going to die. If you let go, you're going to die right here. And the rope stretched from
and
rock to him.
And it's don't have no tautness, so you're
No,
going to go
no,
underneath
it's just
the water.
like
Yeah,
this.
bouncing.
Yeah, so I bobbered all the way across, and when I pulled myself up, and gasped. I got a breath. Those guys, I remember hearing them yell, pull, pull, pull. And the water sucked me under. And I pulled myself back up and sucked me under and back up. And I bobbered like that all the way across. What I don't understand is how I held on to that rope, because when I got across to the bank where they could get me, I couldn't stand up. I couldn't use my limbs. I physically could not use my limbs at all. 4 guys grabbed me. They grabbed my legs, they grabbed my arms, and they picked me up and rushed me to the bank under the trees because snow was coming down. And they started pulling their clothes off of me, or their clothes off of themselves. They were pulling their jackets off. One guy, 2 pairs of pants, pulling extra clothes off. They pulled their own socks off and were putting clothes on me. I could not dress myself. And they started putting clothes on me. They had 5 gallons of fuel that they had brought down on a quad on a motorcycle. And they were out trying to gather sticks in the snow, get as dry as they could to get a fire started. And got a fire started. They got me dressed. They carried me over there. It took a long time for any feelings started coming back.
And how about you? Was it pain excruciating?
It hurt. Yeah, it hurt. Several months later, maybe a year later, my mom and dad ran into one of the firemen that was there. And that fireman told my mom and dad, he said, your son's very lucky we were there. He said he was going into early stages of hypothermia. And he said, had we not been there, he'd have died right there on that river that day. Mm-hmm. I couldn't use my body. I couldn't have got out of there. I was done.
If they wouldn't have been prepared, you would have been.
Well, if they wasn't prepared, we were done. If they hadn't had that rope, I don't know. By the time they got out of there and went and found a rope,
yeah,
I had no. My body heat was just escaping, so fast. I don't know what the temperature was, but it was.
Well, if it's snowing, it's got to be at least 32.
It's snowing straight down. I've been in the river twice.
That's a miracle. You're not dead.
I could have died.
Miracle, yeah.
I didn't get out of that river canyon until it was about midnight when I got out of there. My mom and dad were freaking out, and I finally got out of there and called them. They had called the sheriff, and they were starting a search rescue party. They didn't know where we were at. And I called, and I thought my mom and dad were going to beat me half to death when I got out of there.
This is all pre-cell phone.
Yeah. I thought they was going to beat me. When I got back to town, I called them from Sal's house, and they were flipping out.
Just because they haven't heard from you, and then you tell a story, and they really flipped.
Yeah, it was a double whammy.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't heard. They were. It's midnight, and we're not back from deer hunting. And then when I told them what I did, and the reason...
Glad you're alive, now I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you lived, now we're going to kill you. Well, what we ended up doing, now that rope was tied across that river, because the rope's still tied across.
Still to this day.
Oh, no, not to this day. But at that point, it still was. Those guys went and got an inner tube. No, we went and got the inner tube later, and a guy got in the tube, and we had killed, I think there was... between 10 and 15 dead bucks on that side of the river. It was a major, they were crossing right there. I was the only guy lunatic enough to try to cross. Everybody else shot their buck and left it over there. I'm the moron that jumped in.
And then what? When did they go get it?
Well, so we went, after all that dust settled, we went and got to town and got an inner tube. And a guy got in the tube and just pulled himself across the top of the river. Pulled himself across, took a second rope that was tied across, hooked it to one buck. All the men pulled it across. They threw it back over. He tied it to another one, and they pulled 10 to 15 bucks across that river. That guy got back in the inner tube, and he was just across the top of the river, pulling himself on that rope, pulled himself all the way across. Yeah, that's the dumbest thing I ever did in my life hunting.
I'd say that takes the cake. I'm not even going to tell any stories after that one.
It definitely does. Yeah,
my dad shot him, and this is what it is, but. When you were talking about the carcass getting inside there, I was young enough and small enough, I got up inside of a elk carcass, literally inside of it.
It was that cold?
Well, my dad, I don't know if he ever listened to this one, but God bless him.
You guys went out into sub-zero weather and cotton long johns.
So it was in Colorado. He shot this bull. We're in the car. I don't really know. I can't remember all the details. He comes down. My mom and sisters were all
with
together. So it was public land. He's seen him. He shot it. We stayed in the truck with him. And he came back down. He's all, I got him. I got one. We're like, really? Wow. Whatever. He's like, yeah, but I don't remember what happened. I want to say he had one bullet or two and wounded. I don't know what happened, but the thing was still alive. So it was snowing. He's all, come with me. I was like, okay, yeah, I want to see it. So we went up there. He could tell a little bit better because he was older. I was pretty young. but I want to say I was like 12 probably. And we get up there, and it's snowing, starting to snow. There's snow on the ground. So it just was, to me, it was getting worse. And I didn't really exactly have the right stuff on. Because we thought we were just going to go get it, help him, and come back down. Well, when we got there, the bull was still alive. My dad's, no, he didn't have any bullets left. Don't ask me what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were back at camp. Like, I don't know what the deal was. We didn't have nothing. He took his knife. Well, he would try to go in. It sounds pretty bad. If you're a tree hugger, you're not going to like this story, but I don't think any tree huggers listen to this podcast.
He was trying to get close enough to
Dude, to knife him in the lungs? Well, to put him out of his misery, so he'd stop suffering. Well, he's, I'm going to have to lasso his antlers and pull him back, and then you hold it like I'm going to actually hold
kid.
like I'm going to actually be able to hold his antlers back. And then I'll jump in. Well, I don't know if we pulled it back and then wrapped around a tree so he could, because my dad was trying to go in and he was trying to
hook him with
his antlers. It was like a 5x5 or something. And he finally did, man. It sounded like it was kind of terrible, actually, because none of it, we're hunters, right?
Yeah.
And people outside of that scope think we're just this murdering, savage, bloodthirsty people.
Yeah.
But if you talk to any hunter, anybody that, whether it's big game or waterfowl or whatever it is, we don't want nothing to suffer, right? The quickest, fastest way.
Safe, humane.
I remember as a kid, I felt terrible. I was like, oh, man. And it sounded like you just stuck your knife in like an air mattress. It was... He died like in a couple minutes. It was quick after that. But anyways, I'm sitting here shivering. I don't have the right stuff. I don't have gloves. I don't have nothing. My dad cuts him open, pulls the guts out, and I crawl. Get inside, get inside. Can you imagine? So my dad packs a bunch of that meat. And
you come back all bloody.
My mom's sitting in the car, and I look like literally covered in blood from head to toe. Imagine her
reaction.
What happened to my baby? Yeah, that was that. I remember I just had my hands in the blood in the cavity and just it was pretty crazy. But like looking back at that, it's such a good experience for a kid,
a boy, your whole life,
to be in. That's a crazy environment for a kid. Be inside of a game. It's like, not that you're gonna go do that on purpose, but it's like, I'd rather my son be doing that than. And not that this is wrong, because I've played video games, but I'd rather have him doing that than just sitting and playing a video game all day long.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Experiences like that. No, we don't want our kids to do stupid stuff like that, but just the overall experiences. I mean, you just can't beat the outdoors. You can't beat this kind of stuff. Being here with family and being outside.
The best parts of my life been spent in the woods, either camping or hunting.
Yeah.
Without question.
Yeah.
Camping, hunting, fishing, family and friends has made up all the great experiences in my life.
Mm-hmm. You almost get to a point you feel sad for people that don't know nothing about it, don't experience it. And that's kind of one of the things I like. I like getting those people out and letting them experience that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's because it's so much more of it's the experience. It's not the
journey.
It's not the kill or whatever. It's the whole experience that.
The whole thing, dude.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is
they don't. You're packing up to.
You may remember your first duck you dropped. Okay, you may remember that, but really that's not the part you remember. You remember remember we got Red Bulls in the morning. Like a kid, even a young kid.
From
greasy tacos. How many times have I told that story, dude? Remember Travis's did he do that for you too? The greasy Jack in the Box tacos at 3 in the morning.
We had a lot of tacos.
Yeah, regurgitated milkshakes.
Yeah. Yeah, that ain't one I want to relive. No. I talked to
Thomas. Don't allow him to get milkshakes anymore.
I wouldn't either.
It was so bad. It's like with that place where we first hunted. We'd go over there. We'd sail that whole time. We'd hunt, and then we'd start driving back. And I remember times I was so sleepy.
Yeah.
Like don't remember sections of the road. I should have pulled over right.
Yeah, we've been up all night.
I can make it. I can make it. But you're just like. Grace of God, you got back home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was talking, speaking of experiences in the outdoors, I was talking to a young guy at a Dodge dealership in Kansas. I was looking at a truck in Kansas, and I called. I was talking to this kid. Nice kid. Sounded like he's probably in his mid-20s. So we're sitting there talking, chatting about trucks, and then we got talking about outdoors. I said, man, you lived in Kansas your whole life? Yeah. I said, I I was raised here. I'm like, cool. I said, man, you guys got some great whitetail hunting. He goes, what's whitetail?
No.
I'm not lying. He goes, what's a whitetail? Oh, you don't know?
Oh, they probably just call him something. They call him something else, or he literally didn't know what that was.
He didn't know.
You're kidding.
I said, you don't know what a whitetail is? He goes, no. He goes, it's a deer, right? I said, yeah. I go, you don't know the difference like between whitetail or mule deer or anything? He goes, no. I go, Dad, have you ever done any hunting? He goes, no, my dad never took me hunting.
Mm.
And I said, bud, I just briefly explained the difference. We had mule deer, blacktail out here, and whitetail and this and that. And I said, man, Kansas has got some incredible whitetail hunting. He's like, I've thought often about doing it, but I've never had nobody take me.
Right.
Didn't know how to do it.
Don't know how to do it.
He goes,
Don't know where to start.
No, he said, I've often thought about trying to hunt, but he said, I didn't have nobody take me.
Mm.
So I didn't know. I said, well, let me encourage you. Go get you a rifle, get you a deer tag, and go out and look for a deer.
Mm.
He goes, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. But some people don't get to experience it.
Mm-hmm. Well, like Caleb, guy that's a friend of ours, been for a couple years. He talked about how he always wanted to go, and I don't know if he would ask. I can't remember. It's on one of our episodes, but he would ask about going. I don't remember if it was his uncle or who it was, but never took him. I don't know if it was a family friend. I don't know the details. I can't remember. It's in the episode, but it was funny because remember the look on Caleb's face, dude,
Yeah.
staring at that bird after he shot his first duck, and he's never really done much. He grew up surfing and stuff like that, but he had never done that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he looked like he won the lottery, honestly. But what he talks about is his waders were junky waders. Even now, that was only 2 years ago.
Not that long ago.
His dude, he always says lacerations. The lacerations on my shin. He has a picture, dude. Literally cuts all the way around his shins from cheap.
Remember those old
junky
waders
waders
we had and they'd rub on your...
Oh,
Yeah, they'd rub you raw.
Man.
yeah.
We took a guy. This was back when you could bear hunt with hounds in California. You know, we bear hunted and ran hounds for a long time. A guy that bought a truck. It was a Mexican man, young guy, that bought a truck from you or looked at a truck you had for sale.
Me?
You, years ago. He called me out of the clear blue. He's like, look, I went to look at this truck. This guy named Titus had it. He recommended that I call you. He goes, I've been wanting to go on a hunt my whole life.
For what?
For bear.
Oh, okay. Really? That's funny. I never knew this story.
So I guess I never told you. So
Huh.
he calls, and we weren't much for taking people that we didn't know. You're taking people with guns that
Yeah.
you're not sure how they're going to react.
You know how they're going to handle hiking into a
there's
gorge?
a lot of variables.
Yeah.
So we were just always cautious on who taking complete strangers. And he's like, man, I would love to go. He goes, please, I'll pay you. And this, I said, no, you're not going to pay me. We can't take money. And he begged and begged. And I said, well, we'll see how it comes about. A couple weeks later, please, he calls, man, I'll do anything. Please take me hunting. And I was like, okay. So I told him where to meet us up there where we were going. And when I got out of the car, this kid was from Stockton. When I tell you the epitome of a gangbanger, he was the epitome of a gangbanger. Tats down both arms, baggy pants, shaved head. I mean, he looked like he just come out of the... He looked like he's got out of prison, what he looked like. Nice kid. He was in his 20s. We went up there. We caught a bear. The dogs were treed, we thought. So the dogs were treed. We were going to them. We got down there. They weren't treed. They had this bear bayed in a small cave in a rock pile. And so we get around there. The dogs are all at the mouth of this cave. There's a hole. And you get there, we pull the dogs back. You can hear the bear growling inside there. And he's just moaning. And you hear him popping his teeth. They pop their teeth. And you hear him popping his teeth down there. Pitch black. And I looked at him. I said, you ready? By this point, he had so much adrenaline running to him. He couldn't stand. He was moving. He could not stand still. He's just fidgeting. He's like, oh, bro. That's how he talks. Bro, are we going in there? I'm like, you want a bear? Yeah, bro. Oh, you want to go in there? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So we got all the dogs. Anyway, we got the dogs back. We got in there. Long story short, got in there. It was kind of a narrow hole. Big enough for a bear to get through, but not much bigger. But there's two guys trying to crawl through that. And it was steep like this. It went down, went flat, and then it opened up into a small room. probably no bigger than me to you, just like this. We got down in there. You can hear the bear growling the whole time, moaning, popping his teeth. I got in there. I told the kid he had borrowed a 300 Winchester from a guy that was up there that was bear hunting with us, but it was also deer hunting. And the guy's like, you can use my 300. So we carried this thing down these rocks. I always carried a 44 Ruger Super Red Hawk 44 mag revolver with me on my hip. So that's what I had. We got in there, and I said, look, when I turn the flashlight on, he's going to be right in your face. Like, right in our face.
Which that's a adrenaline rush for anybody, whether you've done it or
what I was
not.
saying is, I've hunted my whole life. My heart was about to jump out my chest.
Yeah.
This kid was about to come unglued. When I turned the light on, the bear was probably, at most, 10, 12 feet from us. And his ears are pinned back to the back of his head. He's pushed up against the rock, and he's growling like that, just a deep kind of a growl. That kid shot, and I told him, I said, dude, when you shoot, get out of my way, because there's nowhere for the bear to go
But towards you.
except over the top of us.
Right.
So I said, shoot and get out of the way. And he shot. Boom. Immediately, I went deaf. We're in a hole. Shut up. We had no earplugs, nothing.
Dude, you weren't thinking that one through.
My ears rang so loud
Yeah.
for hours after I couldn't hear at all. He shoots. Smoke goes everywhere. Well, he hit
goodness.
the bear on the top of the shoulder right here. Well, obviously, that
just ticks him off.
did not kill the bear. And I will not admit to killing someone else's bear, but I'll let you draw your own conclusions. He got out of there, and let's just say there was a lot more shooting in that cave, like 6 more rounds from a large caliber
Which
handgun.
added to the ringing ears.
When I got out of there, I was deaf as a post. I couldn't hear anything. And
He's like,
literally sign language. Dude, I got out of there. I had sweat just pouring off of me. Heart was just smash beating. That kid, that guy, he was in his 20s, was literally physically jumping up and down. He was bouncing. And all he could say was, oh, bro. Oh, bro. And he's just bouncing. Oh, bro. And he's throwing his hands like this. I said, what'd you think of that? Oh, bro. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And
That's
anyway.
awesome.
That
guy was probably ruined for life.
Oh, he had to be ruined for life because that was a story you won't forget.
he's going back. Everybody's like, no, you're a liar. You didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I could tell you that probably is what helped damage my hearing. I mean, dude, for hours I couldn't hear. There was a ringing, like a phone ringing in my ear for hours. For 6 shots from a 44
Right.
and 1 shot from a 300 Winchester
That's
in that little hole.
stupid. Oh my goodness. How long was that hole you're in?
He was at the back of it, and he couldn't have been 10, 12 feet from us.
But were you by the edge of the opening?
So it was almost like a tube. There's this giant rock.
Right.
Right?
You couldn't have done it from the outside of the tube in?
No. You had to crawl. It was at an angle. The hole was big. I'd say the hole was like, I don't know, 3 foot wide by 3.5, maybe 4 foot wide by 30 inches tall. So we had to crawl. That bear had to crawl. There's no way that bear could have walked. He had to have crawled in there on his belly because there was only maybe 30 inches of clearance. And so it went like this at a steep angle into the ground, into that rock pile, and went like that. You could not see him because it went like this, and then it went like that. It flattened out, and it was so you could only see at an angle to the ground right there, and you had to get down there to the ground, which from where we were looking at with the flashlight to where you could see to the ground in there was probably 15 feet. So you crawled in 15 feet at an angle. You couldn't see anything till you got to that point, and then you could kind of look like flat and look into this little room.
Yeah.
And that's where he was at.
Boy, that's sketch.
I wouldn't have crawled
I
in
bet
there.
you as soon as his gun went off, you just, I
I did not wait. Fast as I could pull the trigger.
And did he not even make any advances towards you guys at all coming out that hole?
When that kid fired, that bear went to growling and spinning. As soon as he fired, he went and bit where the bullet hit him in the shoulder. And from that point, there was no questions asked. I just unleashed 6 rounds as fast as I could pull the trigger into him. He just fell lifeless on the floor or on the dirt right there.
That's what you needed. Yeah, that's a sketchy situation.
Today, honestly, I don't know if I'd crawl in that hole. I don't know. I was braver back then. I did some things back then I can't believe I did like that. I don't know
Yeah.
if I could do that today.
Yeah,
Because you could hear him. You could not see him, and it was pitch black in there, and you could hear him
right.
just a real deep
Mm.
growl, just a low, deep growl.
Yeah.
It was an experience.
Lots of good experience as well. I guess we went for 45 minutes. If you guys enjoyed this episode, enjoyed old Webster being on here and telling some good stories, give it a thumbs up if you're watching on the YouTube channel, or leave a comment or something in the if you listen on Apple Podcasts, give us a rating review. Spotify, thank you guys. We just hit, what did we hit the other day? We've definitely been coming down on the charts pretty hard, pretty fast, hard charging it. I think the lowest we've ever been on the outdoor charts is 44. But it varies every day, but we were in like 200s for a while, and then we're down to 78 before I left up here camping. So it's all because you guys are listening and enjoying the content, so we always appreciate the downloads, and thanks for coming on, Webster.
My pleasure.
Travis. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you on the next one.